I enjoy a contemporary spy movie. They're so serious and so intense. But now and again, some writers like to play with the tropes to make a spy movie not only intense, but hilarious.
It's hot out there. It's hot in here too.
So JC, how will you write a new spy comedy using inspiration from these movies? I will explore the tropes used in contemporary spy movies and break down how they are subverted in some of my favourite scenes.
Carmen, Judy, close your eyes. We don't want you to see this, okay? Whoa.
The first, what is a spy movie? It is about a trained operative who goes on a mission to achieve something, usually against an opposing force. Already this premise is subverted in Spy and the Spy Who Dumped Me. A desk-bound CIA analyst volunteers to go undercover to infiltrate the world of a deadly arms dealer and prevent diabolical global disaster. Susan Cooper is a desk-bound agent. She goes on a mission and ends up working undercover alongside Raina, the villain, and must compete against the agents of the CIA to get things done. Remember, a contemporary spy movie is about a trained operative who goes on a mission to achieve something, usually against an opposing force. Well, that's not Susan.
Oh, you're a killer, Susan.
Best friends, Audrey and Morgan, unwittingly become entangled in an international conspiracy when one of them discovers that the boyfriend who dumped her was actually a spy. Audrey and Morgan are just everyday people swept up in the spy world.
Get this. 2 guys show up at my work from the CIA. They said he's a spy.
What do you mean as a spy?
Morgan, I'm serious.
In the beginning, they don't know what the mission is. And they also don't know who the opposing force is either.
You trust me though, right?
Yes, of course I trust you. You don't count.
Okay, good, because this is not some fake spy friendship that the Russians put together.
Dude, shut up. I know.
The subversions in both of these movies are so clever and so much fun, and is where most of the comedy comes from. So, what are the tropes in a spy movie? There's the classic protagonist with a past. Spy audiences want to invest in a character with a troubled or unusual backstory. Why? It adds to the mystery and intrigue of the genre. Duh. Just think of Bond, James Bond. He's an orphan, he's a workaholic. Could that explain his difficulty with relationships? Funnily enough, the Jason Bourne franchise subverts this trope.
Who are you? What's your name?
I don't know.
He cannot remember his past, but the gunshot wounds suggest he has one. And therefore the movies are about finding out who he is. Who is he? Now, let's look at how these comedy movies subvert this trope too. Susan Cooper's past is not troubled. It seems pretty beige.
I mean, when I gave up teaching to join the CIA, I thought everything was going to be different. I thought I was going to be this amazing spy. I'm just the same boring person I was before.
Not only is her past devoid of mystery, she was encouraged not to pursue her dreams, removing any mystery from her future too.
Give up on your dreams, Susan. Just to write that in my lunchbox. Yeah.
Even Audrey's past doesn't ignite intrigue. She's someone who's tried many things but always gave up or got bored.
So why don't you finish things? What are you afraid of?
Being average.
However, Morgan's past brims with colour.
I went to performing arts camp with Edward Snowden. God, he was obsessed with me.
But her interests come across as so niche and useless to a spy that we doubt she'll ever use them. Aha! But she does.
Can you see if you can get eyes on Sebastian? He couldn't have gotten far. Okay.
Hot tip. Don't just subvert a trope because you want to. Make it make sense for your characters. Let me explain. Susan isn't confident in her abilities, so this becomes her character arc. First, she volunteers to go into the field.
Need someone invisible.
I'll do it.
She advocates for herself to continue the mission.
Ma'am, I really think I can do this, and I'm not one to toot my own horn, but you know what? I'm gonna toot.
And finally, she refuses not to finish the job.
You know what? I'm not going down like this. I need you to untie me.
All the while, she must battle against those who underestimate her, like her mother did when she was growing up.
I still, hear my mom's voice. Well-behaved women often make history.
Yes, you do know the phrases. Well-behaved women seldom make history.
Yeah, that's never how she said it.
Audrey Audrey has a habit of not finishing things, so this becomes her character arc. She agrees to honor Drew's request to go to Vienna. She lies that she got rid of the flash drive just to stay on course. And she asks Sebastian to let her and Morgan help finish the mission.
You're injured, so I feel like you kind of need us.
I mean, we're naturals. We're operatives. We're semi-professionals at this point.
By the end, she becomes a spy. She's found the thing she's committed to. See? They've made the subversion make sense. Can you do that for your spy movie too? So, taking inspiration from these movies, I will have my protagonist, Becky, work in the CIA science department. She took a shine to this field because she's severely shy and dislikes being around others. She's also interested in obscure hobbies like hot air ballooning, mainly because she can do it on her own. So what's another trope in spy movies? A killer opening. Why? It immediately drops us into the genre and, well, if you want to learn about the importance of your story's opening, check out this video. Spy begins with a Bond-like opening, with Agent Fine sneaking around doing spy things until...
I'd say you'd better stop.
That's not meant to happen in a spy movie, but in Susan's world, this is entirely possible.
Why did you do that?
I didn't do it on purpose. There's like a ton of pollen in here.
The way the writers play with this trope of the killer opening makes the audience sit up and pay attention, because it has us thinking, what other genre expectations have they just thrown out the window? The Spy Who Dumped Me also starts with the traditional killer opening, but this highly intense action sequence is juxtaposed to the actionless birthday celebrations of Audrey. Doing this sets up the fish out of water journey that Audrey and Morgan will go on. Hot tip, why not do what these movies did and build onto the trope with something unexpected? Not just for this trope, but for any others I mentioned in this video. For my killer opening, Becky's car won't start. She must now brave the crowded public transport to commute to work. Meanwhile, the most obnoxious and in-your-face criminals prepare a hijack and robbery on a bus. You guessed it, Becky's bus. It's our chance to see how Becky behaves in a crisis involving humans. It doesn't go well. Another spy trope is other characters. I couldn't think of a fancy name for it. Oh well, spies are usually lone characters, so others need to be around to support them and coax them out of their shells. Think of when Marie helps Jason Bourne by driving him to Paris. She not only saves him from being discovered by the police, but allows us to learn things about him through her.
I mean, you were shot. People do all kinds of weird and amazing stuff when they're scared.
I can tell you the license plate numbers of all 6 cars outside. I can tell you that our waitress is left-handed and the guy sitting up at the counter weighs 215 pounds and knows how to handle himself. I know the best place to look for a gun is the cab of the gray truck outside. How can I know that and not know who I am?
Let's look at how this trope is twisted in Spy and the Spy Who Dumped Me. For Susan, the character that challenges her the most and forces her out of her comfort zone is not friend or ally. It's Raina, the villain.
Why are you being so nice to me?
You remind me of my mother.
Oh.
This was her.
Oh, wow. Hey, how'd you get that picture of me? I look amazing.
The first big moment is when Susan decides to save Raina from the poison drink.
Do you speak English? Because I think somebody just put a roofie in your cocktail.
Could you point the man out?
Well, he just kind of zipped out that door.
The second is when Susan must come up with a cover to get Raina on side.
I'm a private bodyguard, and your father hired me to protect you.
Bodyguard. You? Please.
Her interactions with this villain are what develop her character the most, and it's hilarious.
Your name should be Mr. Bag of not Anton.
Okay, Jesus, let's just calm down.
Does he not look like a bag of
Enough. I can see why my father liked you now.
Now Audrey and Morgan are in this together. They are not lone spies. Already, this is one way to give a fresh perspective on this trope. These characters also don't need coaxing out of their shells.
Woman, you are incredible and I want you to own it.
They simply remind each other to own how amazing they are.
You're not a little much.
The only people who don't think so are you and my parents.
It's because everyone else is boring.
Again, another fresh perspective. Now, one of these characters around the protagonist might bring with them an intimate relationship, as it can give the protagonist something extra to invest in and raise the story's stakes. Particularly if this other character gets into danger or is used as a trap by the villain or whatever. Think of Bond and how his love interests often end up dead. Side note, the representation of women is slowly improving in the Bond movies, but can we speed it up, people? So, how do the writers play with this trope? Susan's love interest, Fine, is seemingly no more in Act 1. It is what pushes her to become an operative in the field. So, what are the writers going to do with this trope now?
Oh.
They use it as commentary on the sexism women face even in the spy industry.
I don't have a gun. I am just aroused from looking at you.
And when Fine returns from the dead, Susan's growth means that she decides to turn him down.
You're a lot furrier than I thought you'd be.
Yeah.
It settles the audience into a false sense of security before the writer's final comedic twist. Now, the truly intimate relationship is between Audrey and Morgan. Their friendship is what makes the audience invest in this story. But the writers still spin this trope by giving us some love interests. Yes, interests. Remember, Audrey's boyfriend Drew is seemingly no more in Act 1, but he comes back in Act 3. Then there is also Sebastian. Oh no, who is Audrey going to choose? They conclude this love triangle in the contemporary sense, but remember, the actual cathartic release is between Audrey and Morgan. For my MASH, Becky goes undercover to get the villain, Vicky, on her side. Becky's aversion to others entertains Vicky, and Vicky deliberately forces Becky to interact with the scum of the criminal world to see how she will react. This will naturally force some growth onto Becky. But when it comes to an intimate relationship, this is between Becky and a German shepherd, Arnold, who the CIA delegated to Becky for this mission. Becky doesn't have to talk to Arnold, which she prefers. Still, Arnold teaches her a thing or two about advocating for herself, snapping at whoever he doesn't like. Ruff. Another trope is gadgets. Ooh. Ah.
Quite an image.
Gadgets are one way to demonstrate a spy's skill, or for Susan, representative of how others see her.
Have I done something to you to upset you, or?
This is a peculiar theme.
As Becky is a scientist, she will make her own gadgets as she needs them. But as she's under time constraints, they're not always the most reliable and poorly named. Another trope is a car chase. Spy audiences want spectacle. So if you're not giving them explosions, you better give them a chase. Why? It is one way to build tension and, more importantly, release tension. Tension! Very important in a spy movie. Let's look at how these movies have fun with this trope.
Put your roof on a scooter. What are you, the Pope?
Hell yeah, Susan's on a scooter. And she's doing a pretty fine job of it too, so of course we have to have a moment like this. Audrey and Morgan must rely on an Uber driver to escape the baddies.
There's a bunch of men chasing us with guns, and I need you to lose them. Now.
Fuck yeah!
However, the driver is now no more, and Audrey has no choice but to step into the driver's seat. The world the best friends came from is still present in things like Morgan trying to put on her seatbelt and Audrey signaling as she drives.
Oh, okay. Why are you using the turn signal? You're literally telling them where we're going. Sorry, it's a force of habit. It's a bad habit.
Now, Becky is a skilled driver. All those mornings driving to and from work. However, this is the moment shy Becky lets loose. She's got a severe case of road rage.
Sunday drivers, It's only Saturday.
What's the next trope? Put it on a postcard, baby. Spy audiences expect foreign locations, usually somewhere in Europe. It not only adds to the genre's escapism, but can provide story tension. Dropping a protagonist into somewhere they are not familiar with immediately puts them on the back foot. Anything can happen. Now, The Spy and The Spy Who Dumped Me do not subvert this trope. Each checks off a list for holiday destinations. Hot tip, don't want to subvert a trope? Lean into it, go over the top, draw attention to it. Do you get me?
Do you want to die having never been to Europe? Or do you want to go to Europe and die having been to Europe?
Why are those my only two options?
For my MASH, Becky and Arnold gallivant across Europe with the villain Vicky to end up in Turkey for the final showdown. What is Turkey well known for tourists? Hot air ballooning! Of course, the final showdown must occur in a hot air balloon. Another trope that is not necessarily subverted, but still spun on its axis, is Zany Antagonists. Most spy villains are intelligent and have a hatred of authority, but the best also have a personal vendetta against the protagonist or someone the protagonist knows. Think of Silver in Bond. He's out to get M. Now, the big bad for Susan is DeLuca. He's the one she has the showdown against in the movie's climax. But we all know who the really interesting villain is.
I'm not texting, if you must know. I'm playing Candy Crush, and I just made level 95.
Raina comes across as an incompetent, spoiled brat who hates everyone, and it's glorious.
Poor little pathetic Susan Coleman.
Well, that's not my last name, so it's really not much of a burn, is it?
Cooping. Croupon.
No.
Audrey has the showdown against Drew, her ex and the true antagonist. But we all know who the really interesting villain is.
Oh, scheiße!
Nadia is so zany. So much so she matches the skill set of Morgan, which means we get this hilarious but tense set piece.
Remember your training from the New Jersey Circus Center.
For my MASH, Vicky is my zany antagonist. I feel like she was a therapist once upon a time, but now she's one of the most powerful drug cartels. She is arrogantly intelligent, wants to be the authority, and loves dogs. Think Poppy Adams vibes.
Your old pal Charles has messed up. That's all I'm gonna tell you, because that's all you need to know, so put him in a mincer, okay?
Until the next MASH, bye! Already this premise, it's gonna be a long day. I'm all hot and bothered. I need to take off my socks. I knocked the light. Oops. It is about a trained operator that represents. I lost the first script that I wrote to this, so I had to write it again. Hopefully it gets out to you on time, but maybe not. I'm gonna live my life and not stress about it, so you'll get it when you get it. Peace out.